I figured I'd take a little extra time and make it a little bit more fun, as it were. Can't wait to have a couple of people over and play the banjo out here and tell the kids to get off my lawn. My non-existent lawn and the non-existent kids on this street, and my non-existent banjo. This home feels a lot more part of me than any other home I've lived in. Moving out of the bathroom, but above, is the secondary loft, the nest, or the observatory. I don't know, we haven't really nailed down a name for this one. Maybe I play too many video games, but I just wanted to customize my home a lot. Tiny home is definitely the way if you want to do custom everything.
Will you join me? Will you roll? Make this house our tiny home.
Bienvenue tout le monde. I'm Theo, and welcome to the Lucky Bear Lodge. This tiny home is parked on a farm on the west coast of British Columbia. I've been living in it for just over 2 years now. The dimensions of this tiny home are 30 feet long and 8.5 feet wide. The square footage for this tiny home is about 250 thereabouts square feet. Considering I've had some good get-togethers and parties and maybe one small rave or two in here, it's worked out pretty well. So I've always admired a couple of things. One is small form factor architecture. Number two is that, I'm an ecologist. Taking up more space that could be used for a bigger garden or to house more animals is just not what I'm gonna do, so going tiny makes a lot more sense for me. And number three, maybe I play too many video games, but I just wanted to customize my home a lot. Tiny home is definitely the way if you want to do custom everything. I contracted out Ethical Tiny Homes, who is a local tiny home builder, but this home was my own design. They even let me work on the build while they were building it, so I have a little bit of my craftsmanship in just about every part of this home, except for electrical and plumbing. Didn't want to mess that one up. This is the newest addition to the Lucky Bear Lodge, the outdoor porch that was literally finished less than 24 hours ago. I had my good neighbor help me out finishing up the roof, and yeah, this is mainly just supposed to be an outdoor seating area for people, and more importantly, to hang my wet and dirty work clothes before I actually bring them into the house. But I scavenged this beam with some extra metal fastenings and hooks on it, and this is actually made out of scavenged planks off of a nearby home that's being renovated. The roof corrugated metal is from a lady I purchased them off from Marketplace, and the posts are the only thing I actually bought new. Everything else is pretty much recycled. Not bad for 130 bucks. I figured I'd take a little extra time and make it a little bit more fun, as it were. And yeah, can't wait to have a couple of people over and play the banjo out here and tell the kids to get off my lawn. My non-existent lawn and the non-existent kids on this street, and my non-existent banjo. This home feels a lot more part of me than any other home I've lived in. Blood, sweat, and some tears were definitely a part of the building process, and those are now all ingrained, for better or worse, into the home. From the time we started to the time it was on the property, it took us about 6 to 8 weeks. The trailer was the single biggest cost for this home. It was around 18 grand, and the total cost for the home, including the trailer, was around 100 grand. I'm not including my computer in that. That's a different case. It cost me a lot more sanity to build my computer than it did the home sometimes. All right, so let's head on into the main house and welcome everyone to the Lucky Bear Lodge. Shoes off, please. Moving to a tiny home like this actually gave me personally a lot more space than I was used to. I think one of the big challenges with the tiny home that doesn't often get talked about is inviting someone into your life who might not be as familiar or might not be as keen living this kind of lifestyle. Definitely go on a lot of dates before you start building a tiny home. It'll be easier if you get that up front first. So the general layout for this kitchen, definitely wanted a C-shaped kitchen at the end. I realized I was probably sacrificing a larger living room space for it, but I love cooking, I love prepping jams and all that good stuff, so C-shaped kitchen was definitely a necessity for me. I've got your standard under the stairs storage. I got enough storage in here for jackets, extra coat hangers in case I have some friends over. Moving on next to the fridge. It's a 120-volt fridge just plugged right into the wall, 5 feet tall, and has more than enough storage for all of my needs. With this fridge, I mean, I could store probably a week and a half, 2 weeks of fresh groceries. Past the fridge, we've got some open counter space. I've got a little bit of extra plate storage up top. And then you bring that over to the induction stove. Love this thing. Very little heat in the summertime, very little risk of fire, which is probably good considering most of my stuff in here is wood. The counters are all butcher block, leftovers actually from the previous home that my tiny home builder was working on. Storage is mostly located in these bifold cupboards. Another thing that adds a little bit of space to this kitchen is actually the counters are only 22 inches deep instead of the standard 24. You know, the 4 inches really does make a big difference, and I've had 3 people cooking in here at the same time with no problems bumping into each other. Sink, it's a big sink. Found it at a local Habitat for Humanity, which donates a lot of their funds to helping to house people. But they had this big Kraus sink, and I knew that, yep, this sink was gonna fit perfectly. Nice thing about this faucet too is that the colors do change based off the water temperature. Completely independent from the power circuits in this house. And so if the light is flashing red, that means don't touch it or you're gonna burn yourself. Opening window for as much airflow as you possibly can, because it's really nice, especially if you're cooking in here. And as much as I cook some pretty good food, sometimes you do need to ventilate it a little bit. Also as a requirement for fire safety, because you need to be able to bail out of some of these windows. Up top, we've got the microwave and fume hood combined in one. It's a little tall for me, but I could still tippy-toe reach in, and it's not a danger at all. And then next to it, we've got my little alchemy area, as I call it, but really it's just ample amounts of tea storage, lots of my own harvested ingredients, and plenty of store-bought teas as well. So once you've got your food, your tea, whatever it is, you can come all right over here and serve it. I like to call this the bar setup because you can have your bartender serving your patrons out here. And the other nice thing about this kitchen table is that it does slide out. So if you want to set it up as a breakfast bar looking out the big window, you can do that. If you want to set it up in the middle of the room, it can easily fit 6 people. Or if you want to even tuck it right into the kitchen and leave this huge open space in the living area, that's good too. Maybe you want to, I don't know, practice some martial arts or something. Now we're going to flip around to the rear side of the house. But first, we're in this nice big open area, a foyer here. But if you look all around, I've got the big window, I've got the windows from the door, and then I've got these 2 skylights overhead that do pop open in case I need extra ventilation or I just want some fresh air while everyone's having a nice meal. So bienvenue au plancher. This is the floor. Everyone always loves this floor and there's good reason for that. My grandfather is from Manila and he used to run a hardwood factory back in the Philippines. When he moved over here, he somehow managed to get a bunch of these Nara pellets along with him and brought them to Canada. Found a nice place with the leftovers in the tiny home. So yes, all of these individual pellets had to be placed and glued and sanded down, and yeah, it was a lot of work, but I think it was more than worth it. My parents actually surprisingly didn't take a lot of convincing to come around to the idea of the tiny home. They knew it made sense for my values and my lifestyle. Immediately, the second the home was walkable, all of the major appliances were in, my mom was in here, putting things away, giving me dishes to like, oh, you gotta arrange it like this and put it here and stuff like that. And there's some great pictures from them having a grand of a time in the tiny home themselves. Honestly, that picture of my parents is probably one of my favorite pictures of them ever. And now we're entering the living room gaming area, entertainment in general. So, as with any proper wood cabin, as it were, you gotta have your wood stove. You can use it for heat, and it does heat this place up rather well, but it's mainly for aesthetics and emergencies if I really need it. For the main portion for heating and cooling, I've got the heat pump above the door. And then, of course, right next door, not that I would be sitting here while the wood stove is going off, but I've got my whole gaming setup. So underneath the desk, we've got basically my office supplies. And up top, we've got dual monitor setup so I can play my games like Foxhole or do my video editing. And moving just past the main gaming zone, we've got these monitors on arms that can and do swivel in case you want to watch, you know, some TV or some movies from the couch area, or they can even swivel all the way around so that you can have a little bit of YouTube playing while you're working on the more crafting side of the desk. And then actually underneath this corner of the desk is where you can see the PC itself, all of its internals, and I've got my old Xbox 360 in case I'm feeling like playing some more, I don't want to say vintage, but we'll say vintage games at that point. And then I got some of my old cosplay props just mounted up on the wall behind the desk there. And flipping around from the gaming side is the couch where you can sit here, or if you want to read a book from the bookshelf, you're of course welcome to grab your choice pick and do your reading. Now this couch is pretty modular, so you can flip it around, turn it into a daybed, do whatever you want with it, or you can position one of the couch corners over here so you can make an L-shaped couch, prop your legs up, and have your feet right by the nice toasty fire. And from here we'll move on into the privy, as it were. I've got my washer and dryer combo set up. It's nice because it saves on a lot of space. Sometimes it breaks down and I have to fix it, but I've learned how to fix it reasonably well. Above it, we've got a little bit of tool storage that needs some serious organization, but we've also got the big 30-gallon water tank in here. So even if the water for some reason stops flowing, I still have about a day's worth of water that I can rely on. On this side, we've got the tub and shower. I was not going to live in a tiny house unless I had access to a bathtub, and it is fantastic. Around most of the bathroom, we've got this nice marble looking, but it's actually, I believe it's acrylic paneling, so it's nice, it's waterproof. Got the nice window looking right out onto the outside. And then we've got the mirror off to the side, in case you don't want to stare out at nature and would prefer to stare at yourself, you narcissist. But that can be just tucked to the side. In the corner, we've got the Nature's Head toilet, as is pretty standard with a lot of tiny homes. It's okay. The design could use some work, but for what it is, it serves its purpose well. All right, and then moving out of the bathroom, but above, is the secondary loft, or as we've taken to calling it, the nest, or the observatory. I don't know, we haven't really nailed it down a name for this one, but this is mostly just storage for stuff and for spare friends in case you happen to have one that needs a home for the night. These cushions can be set up as chairs that you can just sit on in whatever way you see fit, although you definitely want to watch your head height in here. The nice thing about them though is that they do fold down, so you can turn them into sort of another type of daybed and relax up here. It's nice. My parents, they had it spare. They lent me this green carpet, which I cut up to fit in here. A lot of people have described it as kind of looking and feeling a little bit like moss, so it really lends to that nest feeling. Now we're gonna exit the nest, go into the master loft. So, coming down the stairs, walk through the center, past the bookshelf, then the mirror, in case you need to fix yourself up or anything like that. And then up into the master loft. This loft is designed with a little bit of a different roof, just to give some extra head height while I'm standing on the sunken walkway. You get up here, and you're in your nice loft. This is where I spend most of my nights, unless I pass out on the couch. At the front of the loft, I wanted this open extra seating area with something my dad lovingly calls the surfboard. It's actually a piece of wood I scavenged, and you can even see the old rusted rivets and fixings from some old construction that this was a part of. But yeah, I love being up here, doing a little bit of reading. I can even tilt my computer to monitors this way if I want to eat lunch up here and just watch some videos. The side planks of the house, they were apparently from the old Toys R Us somewhere in the lower mainland near Vancouver. And the roof planks are apparently from an old Coca-Cola factory in New Westminster, also near Vancouver. So I don't know if that's true, but it's a nice story and I like to retell it. Right down the center, we've got the skylights at the center of the home. Most tiny homeowners put the skylights in the bedroom, and I understand why, but the side windows function well enough for looking out at the stars. I wanted these here because if you've ever played the old Halo games, that Halo ring goes right over the center skybox of most maps, and that's kind of the effect I wanted to generate with these skylights. Moving back behind me is the bed, queen-sized. It's a really comfortable bed, and as everyone in tiny homes knows, that cross breeze between the two windows is essential. And I've slept here in 30+ degree Celsius weather. Never once had trouble sleeping, because I have trouble sleeping when it's warm. But with these two windows open, it's awesome sleeping under the sheets, even in the dead of summer. So no regrets about the tiny house life if it means I could sleep peacefully in the summertime. For clothes, just simple open shelf storage. Just fold all my clothes, put them in there. I might change that to some more hanging storage at some point with only a half shelf, but future plans, and speaking of future plans, I want to, at some point, take this out and take out the insulation and just stick my underwear and socks in there, because realistically, clothes are kind of just insulation, and if I can put them into the side paneling, I think that would be even better. Make more use of the wall and clear up some space for other clothes up here.
If you like this week's episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and check back soon because we have new unique home tours publishing all the time. And if you'd like to join our team and get access to members-only content and unique perks, make sure you click on the join button below.